Hey everyone, coming to you live from our South Lamar studio. It's our streaming, because you know what they say, Hagen. There is no building without us teaming.
Yeah.
How are you today?
I am doing splendid. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Pretty good. I just really wanted to talk about the elephant in the room.
Mm.
This Morocco team in the World Cup.
Oh.
No, it's
Oh,
not.
okay. You actually have it working now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Goodness.
Okay. I'll be there.
Who do you think is going to win?
No idea. Let's go with Morocco.
Morocco all the way?
Yeah, sure. I know a kid who is from Morocco, so I'm cheering for them because
You
of
like
him.
you from Morocco.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Do you create any sort of bracket? Any?
Oh, I created so
predictions?
many brackets, but they had USA at the top, so it doesn't really matter anymore.
I think US did better than my country, so
Oh, okay.
maybe next year, right, Cesar, on the background? He's still disappointed. Should have not brought it up.
That's a little sneak preview of
Sneak
what's to
our
come.
future guest.
Woo!
Well, yeah, well, actually, that's a good transition to later today. We'll have a little special guest. I know last week we had
We did
Scott
have
Thompson,
a very special guest.
and then this week we had another even just a special guest,
Careful.
not
Yeah.
bigger
Scott, hopefully
guest.
not watching.
Well, yeah, we're excited to do that. And then I know the audience is just begging to ask us.
Hmm.
New Year's.
Ah.
It's around the corner.
True.
Have you started planning on your New Year's resolutions?
I haven't. No, I had some resolutions, and you told me to think of some prior to this event happening right now. And guess how many I thought of?
25.
The second letter in RO. Yeah, 0. It's close enough. Yeah. So no, I don't have any, but I'll get back to you.
Goodness.
Well, maybe yours will springboard ideas for myself. You have any resolutions?
Yeah, I think I kind of stick with the basic one of just living a healthier lifestyle, watching a few new TV shows, reading up on a few articles, trying to not only just get stronger as a whole, but live longer as a whole. So there's a few techniques I'm eager to try out.
Right. Wellness isn't necessarily just physical; it's mental and
It's also right
financial and
Right
some-
here.
yeah. The
here.
heart.
Right here.
Nah.
So hopefully, I think that'll be one of the best ones. And
That's
we'll
a good
see
one.
how it goes.
Yeah, solid.
Did that inspire you to come up with one?
No, I didn't. But I generally just try to do that, and it doesn't work. So maybe at least for a month, I'll do it.
If you need a workout buddy, I know a guy.
Cesar. Yeah.
Yeah, he'll go. He's actually a pro athlete here.
Oh, really?
Soccer. He's our RO's very own pro athlete.
Ah, okay.
He's an all-star in kickball. He's an all-star in softball, I think, back in the day. I don't know if he joined that, but we love him. He's our secret weapon. When
Absolutely.
there's no SAR in the field, there's no scoring. I can guarantee you that.
I think you could have done a little better in the end there, but it was a good start.
And speaking of resolutions next year, next year brings new beginnings.
Ah.
RO this year, their 3-year plan.
Yes, did you watch that
And
video?
I did.
Oh.
I had a nice peppermint hot chocolate with me as I was watching it.
Oh, very nice.
It was very tasty. I was trying to get in the theme, I
Of
mean,
course.
the
Yeah,
holidays,
it was a Starbucks, I'm assuming? Yeah, the holiday cup?
I
No,
went to
no,
Easy
no, no.
Tiger.
Easy Tiger.
local place.
Okay.
I don't do Starbucks.
Anyway, continue, sorry.
But as the new year comes around, we're getting not younger, so trying to think of new adult things that we can do as we, proceed in our life cycle and our careers.
Get closer and closer to James's age, yeah.
Yeah, we go,
A long way to
James.
go, but we'll get there.
He has a hearing impairment, so he can't hear us right now.
Right.
But yes, the fearful. How old is he?
I don't know, at least 31 or something.
31. Oh, I was thinking 41.
Oh, okay.
Someone should tell him. But speaking of adulting, is there any big adulting thing you try to do next year?
Yeah, one comes to mind. Hopefully, I'll finally tie the knot.
Oh,
Been engaged
you're
for
wrapping presents?
yeah, no, been engaged for like 2 years now.
Oh,
And there's just it's actually probably longer than that.
Is
So-
he, she, it?
She.
Okay. We're inclusive here.
Saw her like last week, so.
I don't know her. Never met her.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so hopefully that's definitely on the list of things to do.
Any big plans you can tell us?
Yeah, I don't
live?
want to spoil too much. I want to keep it a secret. So
So you don't have anything planned.
correct. You're sensing a theme here, I think.
Yeah, not prepared.
Right.
That's exciting, though.
And yourself?
Well, I think I'll be this year. The most adult thing I'll do will probably be crashing a wedding.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Oh, I see.
yeah,
I see what you did there.
yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Okay. Well, excellent.
Do you know what it's time for?
Oh, I just heard the noise. Yeah.
You heard the noise?
Uh-huh.
What is it?
It's time for
Hard
Hard
hat
Hat.
segment.
I don't have to say the segment.
Oh, just hard hat segment.
It's a working thing.
People loved it last time,
They did
People
all
loved it
5
today.
of them. All right. Yeah.
so we're bringing it back, baby.
Okay.
So the way this works, we have questions from the audience that have been pouring in.
So many.
So we just speak randomly, and then we just give people a shout. Do you want to get us started?
Sure. I guess asking. Yeah. Sure. Oh, this is one of mine. Does R&D have any events coming up?
Ooh, any events?
Yes.
Oh, well, seeing how you're in the RD department, do you know of any events?
Nice. Way to not answer it. I believe we have more of these planned. We don't necessarily have a guest list lined up, but I know we want to continue doing these. I think we got a lot of interest after the Scott Thompson interview last week. So I imagine people want to keep seeing this. We got a lot of good feedback from people that watched after the show. So
Perfect. I do hear there might be a new challenge around the
Ooh,
horizon.
there might be. Okay.
Yeah, I bet you didn't know about that.
I think I keep meaning to ask you about it. So
No, you didn't
hopefully-
follow up on your meeting.
I didn't.
Someone needs an assessment.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and pick
You
the
want to
next
ask me
one.
another question
Yes.
instead of you answering it?
Yes.
Okay.
Great writing. This was from Rebecca Lamas at Rebecca. May the hope be with you. This is for us. What exciting projects does R&D have going on right now?
Currently.
Yes.
We have the live streams going on. And then the big one is I think we're rolling out the digital safety forms. That might be a real possibility, at least testing it. Who knows?
To elaborate a little more.
Okay.
Where's that? How is that working?
Well, we created our own, it's an app, but it's really just a form. And that form then sends that information to a database. And that database then just populates a form that's then directly routed to Procore. So no, gone are the days you have to manually fill out a form, scan that puppy, and then drag it to the folder.
Oh, no dragging puppies here, guys.
No.
Looking forward to it, though. I know construction has been slow in kind of adapting to
Don't you dare
technology.
say that.
So it's nice to see technology evolve. That's exciting. That's exciting. I hear there's some works happening with the pre-con department. Some historical data here.
Yes, we spoke about it briefly last week, I believe. So a little update on that. We actually met with them. They seemed overly enthusiastic about it, and so there's some tweaks that we want to do, and we want to pizzazz it up, make it look a little bit more flashy.
Bedazzle, guys.
Oh, bedazzle, right? Yes. So, but they liked it, and they liked what the possibilities that it holds. So. That should hopefully be rolling out sometime soon. Definitely in Q1.
Ooh, looking forward to that, Mr. Fritz.
Yeah.
And I know we're excited for a guest. Are you excited for a guest?
I am.
I know this man. If you saw the invite, you might know who this man is.
You might.
But if you don't, he needs no introduction.
Okay.
He's the legend. All the iconic projects that you love in San Antonio,
I love all of them.
you brought it him.
Oh.
He is the Southern Cowboy in San Antonio.
Oh.
He loves the meat of his pie, and he's an all-star player. We all love him. We love to hear about him, and looking forward to getting to chat with him.
Yeah.
We'll have Jon with us, Jon Archer.
Yeah. Just give us one moment to get everything set up. Oh no. I'll never submit that idea now.
So certain are you? Always with you what cannot be done. Do you nothing that I say?
Thinking of ideas is easy. Submitting them is totally different.
No, no different. Only different in your mind. You must unlearn what you have learned.
All right. Give it a try.
No, try not. Do. Or do not. There is no try.
performance was enchanting, completely captivating on so many different levels.
From the beginning to the end, just hypnotizing.
I feel better about the world. I feel uplifted.
It touches you.
All right. We on Cesar? Beautiful. Jon Archer,
Hey, man.
welcome aboard. Thanks for joining us today.
I'm the meat to your pie.
That's one of those things that probably 99.9% of the world's population will never have a true appreciation of. So that's one of the many things that bonds us together here, right?
Amen.
So I'm curious, Sean, just right out the gate here, what do you love about RO?
A lot of things. And the easy answer is our people. But it goes a little bit deeper than that for me. And I think it's the careful and thoughtful leadership that you get from a family-owned business like Rogers O'Brien, third generation family-owned, and then being here for 11 years or so, and being able to, you knew some of the leadership from the prior, with Pat and Mr. McAfee, Preston, and and what we got here. So it's just knowing that careful, thoughtful leadership that we get from Justin and our executives that we've known for a long time. I appreciate that.
Yeah, everywhere we go, everyone we talk to, it's always the people. Keep crossing my fingers that one day out here, I love the R&D department. I love the technology. I want more of that, but
I got a story about that.
Let's hear it.
So back in the day, this was 2011, and this was when Todd Wynn was in the BIM department, and you heard Justin and Todd Wynn talk about the next 3-year strategy, and at that time, we were recalibrating, which is what they laid out in the plan the other day, and at the time, of course, I didn't know what that meant, but in Dallas, we were there for a training, and we did onboarding much different than what we do it now. And I had met Todd a handful of times, but this is when BIM and VDC was the thing that we invested in, and then we have been probably working BIM and VDC for roughly a year, I can assume, something like that, not very long. And met Todd, enjoyed his company, and Todd's the kind of guy when you walk into a room that everyone just naturally gravitates towards, and I says, you know what, I want to be that guy's buddy. He's a smart guy. And back where we have the rec center now, used to be an old house, and I knew that Rogers O'Brien owned it, and it was across the parking lot, and we were on a lunch break or whatever, and so I walk in there, and I knew we're thinking about some pretty cool stuff, out of the box stuff, ideas, and I walk in there and all the lights were off, and there's like 4 guys sitting in there, and Todd was one of them. And I said, so this is what you guys do. You sit in the dark with your tinfoil hats and think about all the cool stuff we can do. And that was 11 years ago, and here where we are today, it's pretty amazing on some of the things that we've been able to do that has catapulted us from $200 million company to now somewhere around $800 million, and the quantity of our people have grown threefold, but I think it's threefold in that short amount of time. So what we're doing now in this 3-year strategy that came out in Justin's message on Monday is kind of the same thing as we were 10, 11, 12 years ago, and kind of recalibrating. And so when we come out of this and we start accomplishing those goals, it's going to catapult us into the future, and that's what's really cool.
Yeah.
So that's my story about Todd. Is the guy sitting in the dark with a tinfoil hat, thinking about all the cool stuff, and now he's our CIO. So yeah, it's that's the stuff that makes it exciting.
Yeah, for sure. I know that's one of the things that keeps me here is that opportunity. And you've been a fantastic advocate of mine, John. Never any limitations. You know what I mean? Never, well, at least within reason. Whenever we throw something crazy at you guys, like, hey, we think a 4D schedule might be a tool that could be useful. It's like, great. What do you need? How do we do it? How can we support you?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's a rare occurrence in general, especially in the construction industry. So I'm highly appreciative of people like yourself and Todd and Justin that support all those efforts from the top down.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how did you end up at RO? I assume you weren't born here. Is that correct?
Born and raised in New Braunfels, Texas. I live there now with my wife and 2 kids. I didn't get very far. I tell people I didn't get very far in life. I'm still live within 30 miles of my mother.
Oh, that's incredible, especially around, in Austin at least.
Yeah.
Was it like something like half the people have been here for less than 3 years? So
Probably, yeah.
someone that's been in one 30-mile radius for about 34, 35 now.
That's nice of you.
So during that time, you somehow found your way to RO. What was your path like to get here? Were you hired on out of school, or did you come from another contractor?
I came from another builder. When I graduated high school, I went to A&M, and I actually I almost went to the Marines.
No kidding. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Anyway, I figured I'd go to college, and I didn't have enough money to stay, but I'd go for a semester or two, and then I'd join the real world and join the Marines. But I got to A&M, and I had as much fun as one could have and still make grades, and I did whatever I had to do to stay there. So I got a job, and I got multiple jobs. And I put myself through school at night, working at night. So I would work in a construction company, worked at a lumber yard, and did that during the day. And at night, then I would run trim in houses and run trim, install cabinets and things like that. And one day, by the grace of God, I graduated from A&M with a degree in construction science. When I graduated, the towers in New York were hit, which was the start of a war. But at that time, the country was in peril, and we had never seen anything like that. So, if you think about the career fair now as what it was then, drastically different. There was probably 30 GCs that were looking for kids versus 300 what you have now. So the pool was much smaller back then.
I assume it was a much smaller class as well. Is that just how much the Central Texas area has grown in that time frame?
It was at times, yeah. I mean, you had the when the towers were hit, there has to be a less of a population for employers looking for kids, right? Yeah. The school was much smaller, still leading construction science in the universities in Texas in general, but anyway, just different times. So I interviewed around, and luckily I wound up with 7 offers. I didn't know what to do, and then in some companies, I said, what would I be doing? Well, you're going to live in a hotel for the first 6 years, and you'll have to shovel snow out to your car in Ohio to go to work. And you're going to sit there for 5 years and answer submittals and RFIs. I'm like, well, that doesn't sound like much fun. And then another opportunity was they were looking for the same type of candidate, but you'd be working in the hill country, and I paid about the same benefits, and I thought that would be the place for me. And it was a smaller company who specialized in medical and acute care renovations, and so MRIs, CTs, caths, ORs, things like that, and installing equipment and modifying hospitals and renovating and learning ICRA and ILSM and all those things. And so the plan was to stay there for 5 years and learn the ropes of construction and the nuances that go with it, and how to navigate that within a hospital or an acute care environment. And I ended up staying there for 10 years.
Timing's not your thing, is it?
No, it's not. It's really a bad deal. But through that course, we were building. Rogers O'Brien was building a medical office building for Baptist or tenant out there in Bernie. And it could have been Methodist or Baptist. I'm not sure which one. Joseph Francis was the project manager. Dale Harrison was the superintendent, and there's a couple of the guys I can't remember. But that was about 2004, 2005, 2006, sometime around there. And I was building a hospital at that time, a hospital expansion rather, in Hondo. And I've got a lot of ties to Hondo with Ash Gillum and some friends there that started kind of back in those times. But anyway, got to be friends with Dale and Annie. And about 2007 or so, we were slowing down. 2010, we were kind of slowing down. And I reached out to Dale and I said, hey, you guys busy? Because Rogers O'Brien at the time was building the Women's Center at Fredericksburg Hospital. And so I always knew who Rogers O'Brien was. I got to missing my date. Sometime in there, between 2006 and 2010, Royce Faulkner, who you may know that name,
Yes, sir.
was he wanted to build a student dorm at Schreiner University down in Kerrville, and I was the project manager at the time, and I got to meet Royce, and Royce would show up at every OAC meeting, and he'd sit across the way, and you learn some of the mannerisms with Royce, and he's a unique guy. So I got to meet Royce, and we built Faulkner Hall. I forgot what year that was, but it was probably 2007 or 8, somewhere around there. And anyway, got to know Rogers O'Brien because they were somewhat involved. Knew Dale, and anyway, years passed. We were slowing down at the company I was with, at a smaller medical outfit, and reached out to Dale, and then I said, "Hey, you guys busy?" And he says, "Yeah, give me 5 minutes." And then 5 minutes later, Cisco calls, and we had known each other. We had met each other in the industry through the years. But anyway, 5 minutes later, I had an interview.
That's pretty quick, yeah.
So I came up to Austin, and I met with a guy named Jeff Hager and Cisco Hobbs, Alan Cadena, Joseph Francis, and Charlie Hamilton, and we went across the street to have barbecue.
I'm curious now because I look around and there's no barbecue nearby. Where'd you go? What was it?
I think it was it Pokey Joe's? Or
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
I wouldn't
Pokey
call
Joe's
that
is
barbecue.
Yeah, it's apparently I don't either.
But it was quick.
Yeah.
And so we did the interview, and then that was 2011, and they hired me in between Christmas and New Year's. Another weird deal, right? So, right place, right time is a lot of is a lot of it, right?
I said earlier that timing didn't seem like your thing, but maybe it's luck then. I don't know. You got something, some sort of magic bone there that's getting you to the right place at the right time in front of the right people.
I'll take it.
Hey, that's a win's a win, right? Regardless of how you get it. That's such a cool story, John. Just the fact that you kind of been tangent to our own, seeing what they were doing, and new people here. I think it really showcases the value in maintaining those relationships and staying in touch with people and not burning any bridges. I'm sure we all have rough days where it's easy to think, you know what, screw it, I'm gone, I'm out of here, I'm done with all this. But it's not going to help you in the long run.
No.
Working through those problems, staying out of the monkey brain.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if I'm not mistaken, you were part of the New Braunfels 4B organization. Is that correct?
I was. I had to step down when I moved from the city to the county.
Gotcha.
It was a fun board. It was an impactful board for a lot of reasons.
So I'm only vaguely familiar. What's the purpose of that organization? Why does that exist?
Sure. 4B Economic Development Group was established in New Braunfels, and I forgot the year, but I think it was close to 92, if I'm not mistaken. I'd probably have to go look that up, so don't quote me on that. But other communities of size have a similar board. Sometimes a 4A. New Braunfels was a 4B, and that funding mechanism is different. Like a 4A board would receive money from the city, where the 4B board is based on tax dollars. And so, just to put it in the simplest terms, if I remember right, sales tax is 8 1/4. Well, 6% of that, or 6% of the 8 1/4, 6 of it goes to the state of Texas. So you got 2 1/4 remaining. 1% goes to the city, 1% goes to the county, and the quarter goes to the 4B Economic Board.
Gotcha.
And they take those dollars and they set up like company incentives. If you want, you know, Samsung to move to New Braunfels, Texas, well, they'll take that dollar amount that they raised and they'll buy the property. They'll bring utilities to it. They'll make it a pad-ready site to entice companies, key employers is what they call it, to move to that community to make commerce, right? And with that becomes more businesses and roads and tax dollars.
So you still had your day job while you're doing that, and you're doing this weekends, evenings, whatever your meeting cadence was. Do you think it's important for people to have those outside activities, whether they be as what's the word I'm looking for, as rewarding as being on the 4B council, but just that kind of engagement outside of industry, outside of work? Do you think that helps people grow, or what's your take on it? Why were you part of that?
I don't think it takes away from growth. I think it probably bolsters it. For me, it became a quality of life. Or, you know, I like to volunteer. I do a lot of volunteering, whether you're serving beer at Wurstfest or spreading Glemitlikite or in your community where you live. You know, so many people take away from their communities to just take, but I think we need to give back, and that's what's important to me. And it became a quality of life. It was the way that I was raised with my grandparents and my parents, and it, you know, when I met my wife through one of those events, it became our way of life, and so it's important to us. I wouldn't know if it's everybody, but it's a key part of who we are.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think there's you can't duplicate that. You know, you might have some real good drinking buddies or shopping friends or whatever, but I think there's a sense of service that comes from those communal type efforts that it's not replaceable and kind of rounds you off as a human, if you will. So going back to 10 years ago now, well, a little over 10 years ago, you were a freshly minted PM with RO, hired going into the new year, and today you're sitting here as the director of the San Antonio region. Was that an active decision? Did you sit down there in San Antonio a decade ago and say, I'm going to be the director of this office someday?
No, San Antonio didn't exist back then in the eyes of our leadership. In fact, when I hired on as a project manager, I thought that I'd be a project manager the rest of my days, that kind of float under the radar and just, you know, do my little deal and go on home. And I remember one day I was walking in the hall in Dallas at a training or some sort of training. I don't remember what it was. And Pat O'Brien called me down the hall and he says, "Jon Archer, how you doing?" And I thought, how does he know my name, number one? And I had a lot of more questions after that, and we got to talking just for maybe 3 sentences. And I had to go off to my training, and he was going off to a meeting. And Christmas came around, and back then he would give placemats. He'd give placemats, and so he years later, I still didn't think he knew who I was. And we had our first kid, and he bought me a placemat for the kid and had the kid's name on it. And
wow.
And I'm thinking, how would they possibly know who I was? And that was my first interaction with, you know, Pat O'Brien and then Preston, and now, you know, just good memories.
So you're out there and you know, talking with them, and there had to be some steps that occurred. That was it sounds like it was very organic for you. It wasn't necessarily something where you said, "I'm going to grow into this, and this is my North Star, and I'm going to work for that exactly." But it was more of I don't want to say conversational, but a little more organic type of growth for you. Is that a safe statement to say?
Yeah, that's fair. Some of that was, you know, creating an opportunity. When I was hired on, my first project was Forest Park Medical Center. And, you know, go back to the Rolodex of names. I mean, Denny Dinsmore, Dale Harrison, Annie Harrison, Natalie Sandoval now, Blake Maha. I'm missing Ash Gillum. I already say his name.
No.
So that same group, those guys that have been here for, guys and gals that have been here for a number of years, some longer than me. I don't know. We formed a tight knit group. We had an efficient project. Charlie Hamilton was the director, and Charlie, he made me a better project manager. He was a hard guy for me to work with, but after putting in a year and a half of time, he made me better at my job. Gave me things to shoot for. Braylon Byford was there. Forget about Braylon. He was the financial PM, and he's now running Waco. And so it was that project. And then to answer your question, an opportunity came up that we were there was a physician that wanted to develop a medical office building. At the time, I gave it to Cisco, and he says, well, go work it. See if you can make a deal out of it. Which is a little bit of what I did before I came to RO. But I was given an opportunity. And we, working in pre-con, working with Ash, Natalie, pulling from different resources from the company that I had only known for a short amount of time, 2 or 3 years. 2 years rather, 2.5 years probably. By the time, that project had wrapped up and we're starting to develop the next one. And so that was a first opportunity. We had been working in San Antonio for the last 20 years at that time. And I kind of did some study and some market research, and I was asked to put a plan together over a number of years. About that time, I met Mike Dempsey from when he moved from Dallas to Austin, and we started working on some plans that we would kick back and forth. Then I was introduced to data centers, and first I didn't know what a data center was.
I don't think either of us did. I'd been at RO for all of 6 months, and I think I almost lost a girlfriend because of it.
Yeah.
I got that opportunity to go. I said, hey, do you want to go down to San Antonio and coordinate this data center? I said, sure, why not? It sounds great.
All I heard is they wanted to build this building. It was a 100,000 square foot tilt wall, 2-story building, and they wanted to start construction on level 5 IST in 7 months, and the contract was like $65 million, I think it was, 70, something like that. Big contract. But the liquidated damages was more than my annual salary. If you're 1 day late, it was more than my annual salary at the time, which wasn't much.
No pressure.
No pressure.
No, just new type of market, new area.
I remember we get the contract, and Dempsey calls me in the office and he says, "Okay, who's your team? Doesn't matter what project they're on. Who's the best of the best?" And I just go down through the roster and we start putting the team together. And anyway, I told him that I wanted to project manage it. It was the biggest thing. It was the biggest thing we had ever done at that time, and it's an opportunity where you rise to the occasion. About that meeting, and my wife calls, and I look at the phone. I red buttoned her, and she calls right back. And so I said, "Hold on, guys. I'm talking with Mike and Cisco." And they said, "Go ahead and take it." And so I called. I answered the phone, and I said, "Lori, what's up? Is it an emergency?" And she says, "It's go time." I'm like, "What do you mean it's go time? We're still like 2 weeks early." "No, I'm going to the hospital." And so we won the contract. Mike says, "Who's your team?" I told him, "I'm your project manager." Wife calls and says, "Hey, we're having a baby," and yeah, it was one of those days, right? I don't know if I can put anything more on top. So I looked at them and I said, "Today's Thursday. I'm going to take tomorrow off. I'll be back to work on Monday." And so that didn't happen. Reality set in, and I'll tell you, as a father, you have a child. There are new corners to your heart that you never knew existed, and I hope everyone gets to experience that. It was a neat time of our lives. But we get back to the job when I get back, and there were some days just bonkers crazy, and long hours, and a demanding customer like we all have, right? We all have demanding customers. But there was challenge after challenge. One that came out of it that y'all probably know now, they asked me for the quality control plan. At the time, we didn't have a quality control plan.
Oh, no kidding.
None.
Starting from blank.
And I would I would begin to pass some information. This is our plan, which was no good. And I finally sat down and said, okay, still like an artist. So what do you want to see? And they said, and they explained it to me, and that's where we came up with a 3-step quality control plan. You were on that job.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So that's where it came from. And then and Ash has taken it light years beyond what it began as, and so we've continually improved that. So you're given, I guess my point is, you're given opportunities and obstacles, and you've got to find a way to succeed on all points. Now, you may not be batting 1,000 that day, but if you work collectively as a group and you trust in your team, you can accomplish some great things.
All about, trusting the team. It's too much to do. One person do.
We finished that job 5 days early, and for the next 4 years, they would change order us the next data center to the tune of $60-70 million at a time, and that's where a mission critical market sector came from.
So throughout all that, you mentioned a couple of people. Heard Charlie's name being a little rough on you at times.
Oh,
Heard
yeah.
Mr. Dempsey's name.
Yeah.
Out there trying to scheme with you on how to take over San Antonio. Do you feel like any of these people were ever an advocate for you? Do you feel like you had a strong advocate throughout the process, that growth period?
Huge. Every single one of them.
All of them, really?
Every single one of them. You measure, maybe not everyone. I tend to measure where I was in life on what project I was working on. I knew when my kids were born because I knew what project I was on. I knew when I got married because I knew what project I was on. And my family, my work family, is the guys and gals that you work with. You're in the trenches every day, and you spend more time with them than you do with your wife, your girlfriend, your whoever. So, that's work is a key part of my life, and I enjoy it. I like what I do.
That's great to hear. Why construction? You mentioned potentially running off to the Marines to go save the world from all the evils that exist, and ended up at A&M instead. And you worked in a lumber yard and all this, and you're installing trim. I can kind of see some ties to that into the construction industry. But there must have been something that you saw from a distance as a young construction science student that made you think that's where I should be. That's where I need to be for the rest of my life.
My dad was in construction. I grew up in his shop. It was comfortable to me. I wanted to do something. What I really enjoy about construction, frame it a different way, is working with a team and leaving your mark on the world, changing the landscape, working with the team to create and finish something bigger and better than yourself. I really enjoy that part.
It's one of those things that I don't think I fully appreciated. It's just there's a sense of pride that you get going across some of those buildings. You see them coming up, or you see it on the news, or you meet someone who went to that school that you built, or what have you. That just there's a sense of pride that comes with that tangibility that's really not as present as it is in other lines of work. Do you think that doing things like working in the lumberyard, installing trim, changed how you view a project as a builder today?
Not necessarily. I think it for me, it was a means to an end. I had to pay for the roof over my head and the food in my belly, a little bit of beer on Friday night, and study for physics. So it was a necessity.
Make sure you don't get that order wrong.
Yeah. So for me, it was working your way through towards a goal.
Yeah, that's you had that goal. That's I think something that's easy to forget about. As you progress through life and all that, it's easy to get complacent and not push yourself or not set those objectives far out, and you end up, I don't want to say squandering your time, but not running as fastly as you could ahead.
Opportunity cost.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. You mentioned Wurstfest earlier.
I did.
What's how, why, what's going on with that? I missed it this year. I'm sorry. I was hoping to.
I noticed you were one of the thousands that did not make it. I was keeping roll. Worst Fest. I mean, kind of like the 4B board. It's an organization that's been around 60+ years. It's a large part of the cultural identity of New Braunfels and giving back to your community. It's a nonprofit that raises quite a sum of money, and those dollars go back to our needs in the community. And a lot of the things that Worst Fest does is builds a monument or donates to a plaza or a park or things like that. But it's also an enabler. There are 32 nonprofits that participate in Worst Fest, and if they're selling, sausage on a stick or a turkey leg or whatever, it's the Boys Club, the Girls Club, the Rotary, the whatever group that it is, those dollars that they generate goes back to their cause, and so it's millions of dollars that go back to our community to help those that may be in need.
That's incredible. Yeah, I didn't realize
it's a cool deal, cool story. Eventually, Worst Fest burned down a couple years ago.
Yeah, I remember that happening. That was
and I'm the only builder that knows how to build. I can build fast. So ours is an example, right? And I'm the only builder of our size that's in that group, and the president CEO of New Braunfels Utilities, his name is Ian Taylor, and I, leaders in the community, they said, if we're going to put a team together, we want these two guys to go rebuild Worst Fest. And so we put a team together and hired the architect, went design, build, builder, who's, I wouldn't say we compete often, but he looked at me one day and he says, how come you're not building it? And I said, well, it's a lot like building your own church or your own country club. Sometimes there's just not enough money in it. And if I can get you what you need and you can get us what we need, we can all win. And so being taking a selfless act, take your way or take your position out of it, and you can help restore Worst Fest and bring that back to the community. It was a win for our community.
a huge one too. I mean, I think it just kind of showcases the power of knowing your strengths and your weaknesses.
Since that time, they put me on the board, and it's been an interesting board to be a part of, which is another huge impact to the community, and it's been fun.
I bet, yeah. Seeing you in the outfits is always fun too.
Yeah.
Bruno had asked a question over in the chat. I think that's our Bruno, if I'm not mistaken. He said, it seems like timing has followed you throughout your careers. Is there something you plan to do this coming new year that is on your terms and RO time?
Now say that again.
Yeah, you lost me too there, Bruno. Do you have anything planned for the coming year that you're excited about doing with RO? Any particular events or anything like that going on?
Yeah, the Ops Council put a list of questions together, big questions. There's 10 of them, and it's really what the focus is. What is our? It boils down to developing that OKR for the region, and those are going to be rolled out in January, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so. Yeah, with the road show, I think they're
at our town hall meeting.
Yes, sir.
And so working on that, it's still kind of in draft at the moment. So I'm working on that. I was pretty inspired by the 3-year strategy that Justin rolled out the other day, and then how those regional and department OKRs kind of filter into that. And so there's a lot of thought that goes into that. That I met with Leon and Cisco and Mike and Jennifer and Braylon yesterday, talking about kind of the first draft of what those look like, and getting to hear other OKRs and what are some of our needs, what are some of our risks, internal, external, and what that looks like. And as we formulate those OKRs to support the strategic 3-year initiative, is what we're working on. So I think putting those OKRs into motion is where my focus will be.
Very cool. Yeah, that's such a nice framework to have and work within. I think it provides a lot of clarity and that ever so critical alignment.
Yeah.
That it gives everyone that same target to work towards.
The other cool part about that you may not think about, may not be apparent, is the ops council, our leadership is listening, and we the leadership group and regional leaders that got to go to participate in the strategy for the company. I'm missing another group that was part of that. Anyway, 3 or 4 different groups that participated into where do we want to take this company into the future, and then from that develop our OKRs so that we can be there. So it's a thought-provoking concept that our president and CEO is collaborative enough, right? And I really appreciate that about Justin. Is let's pull the best ideas together, and let's go execute on that. Let's make this company what we want it to be. That's the cool part.
Yeah.
Imagine if everyone did that.
Boy. That's starting with the end in mind. Whenever you get there, everyone should be happy. They had their chance to kind of express where to go and what it should look like and all of that. And I think gives everyone a bit of skin in the game.
Sure.
Whenever they're part of that master plan. It's not just something rolling downhill from above. Hey, do this, do that. It's no, I want to do these things because that's going to help me achieve this outcome that I want to see us get to. Jon, I think it's safe to say that you've been fairly successful in life. What characteristics, what traits do you think have allowed you to get to where you're at?
You asked me this question the other day, and I don't have the silver bullet, but I can tell you the attributes that help get me there, and that's having grit, and that determination, and that loyalty and dedication, and their willingness to take on more are the ingredients to be able to achieve things, and setting your goals out there. But it's also remaining vulnerable and humble, and realizing that you don't know it all, and having the wherewithal to listen and learn from others. And Cisco coined it up to me a couple of years ago, where I was trying to take on too much. I was trying to create the schedule and be the project manager and help the superintendent in the field and do all those things. And he says, now realize you're not the best superintendent. You're not the best scheduler. You're not the best project manager. You do what you do very well, but you have a whole host of team members, and you need to use their talents. And so I took that to heart, and listen to others, learn from your teammates, because they can do some great things too. I think together, collectively, we can accomplish some great things. But that grit, that determination, that being loyal, and, be willing to take on more, and sometimes it's more than you think you can possibly do. I mentioned Cyrus won. I couldn't put one more thing on the plate that day. But there will be days like that.
At least they weren't twins.
All right. Hey, man. Almost twins. The second one. But, taking on more, and then excelling over and over again. And you'll have, this is true with any position or any company or any industry. You have to do the job of the next level that you are seeking, and you have to do it well before you're awarded the accolades of a title. So I was never one to chase a title. Those opportunities, I just mentioned I want to be a project manager forever. Those opportunities came to me after I had proven myself over and over again doing the roles of the next role. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone's constantly they're constantly being interviewed for their next job. Whenever I sit here and look at Hagen, I'm looking at him thinking, I see where you're at now. I'm trying to figure out where you're going to go next.
Yeah.
And I think that's true of all of us. Any big plans for the holidays?
This is the first year of the RO refresh. So I'm looking forward to, after a conversation with my wife, I would say, hey, we can go to West Texas or we can go to wherever. And she convinced me that, I just want to be at home. And so being at home, I like to work in the garage and tinker, and, I do enjoy that too. So, it's a moment to intentionally slow down, recharge your batteries, come on back when the holidays are over, but we're going to stay home.
What do you have sitting out there in the garage right now? Anything exciting? You got like
Two things.
Harley or something out there rebuilding?
Yeah, it's my father-in-law's boat. He calls it a rocket launcher. Yeah, well, he has an offshore rig, and so it's where your rod and reels go, and there's a place to skin fish or whatever you choose to do there. Hang lures off of it, and I found a piece of African mahogany, and I was going to make him a new rocket launcher to stand up in the back of his boat. And the other one, I've got a gun safe, and I was going to build new racks for the gun safe. It's kind of tinker in the garage.
There you go. I can't think of a better way to spend that week recharging, right?
Yeah.
Get in a little bit of that man glitter. Get yourself refreshed. I did see here Brandon Powell asked in the chats. He said, "Are there any paths or skills you wish you would have explored further, construction industry related? Any paths or skills that you think, man, I really wish I had spent some time as an estimator or a field engineer, whatever?"
It's a good question, and the answer is yes, and my mind goes all over the place. I was given a lot of opportunity in the field on doing layout and learning from those superintendents on what it was to be a builder. And it took me a minute when I first got out of school, and the superintendent at the time was an old crusty guy named Mark Gata, and another one named Rick Spence, and they said, "Realize you just graduated. That's great. You got a degree, but you also realize that you need to learn from others and what it's the guys and gals that have been there before for 20 years before I was there, and learning what it is to be a builder and how to put things together and how to negotiate conversations or with trades or schedules or all those things." I enjoyed that part. So being time in the field, the financials part is not really where my heart is. It's where the business side is. It's extremely important as a project manager. I tell you, as RO, here's one where I kind of stumbled in my career is when Viewpoint came out. And at the time I was, Braylon was the financial PM. I was focused on schedule and building, and so that kind of that carved a path on which direction I went as a project manager. And it's like I missed the first day in class, and I was behind the curve on Viewpoint, and that kind of stumbled me a little bit. So my point would be this: in the next couple of years, there's going to be some new software. Procore is one that's most recent. When we do those trainings, when Lacey and Ash does those trainings, I would make it a point to be in person. You learn much more. I learned much more face-to-face rather than behind the screen. Second to that is, attend those trainings. There's going to be a lot of trainings that are rolled out in 2023, and you kind of heard Justin talk about that last week. Make it a point to grow as a Rogers O'Brien employee to attend those trainings. It's important for a number of reasons. One, training. Two, you get to face time with your peers, and that that collaboration, that camaraderie that goes with it. So I think those are important. That would be my suggestion to anybody. I enjoy that in-person first teams.
Definitely. I think there's just a level of communication too that occurs person to person. You're a lot more engaged, and I perhaps this is just me, but I know I get more out of it whenever I can kind of interact with the instructor, professor, whatever, more so than what you're limited to over a Teams call and things like that. Well, John, coming up on time here.
How'd we do?
I think we did fantastic.
All right.
This was lovely. Thank you so much for coming down and joining us. I know Bruno and Hagen talked about it a bit already, but this is our last stream for this year. Seems we're getting some pretty positive responses, which makes us happy.
What's the plan for next year?
Man, that is such a great question. I think what we'll probably do is skip the first week of January, the first week back in January, and that second week back we'll probably start doing more of these. And unless something dramatically changes following this rolling out, we'll likely go into doing this weekly. You know, it's talking with people. I'll call out Mr. Jonathan Grammer. He gave us some great feedback, and you could just hear it in his voice. He's like, man, if you could have one person a week just come in and, you know, share their views, share their path, their lessons learned, what a powerful tool to just, you know, bring us all together and learn a little bit more about everybody.
Absolutely.
So you don't necessarily have to twist my arm to do these either. They're a lot of fun. I feel like I'm the ultimate beneficiary because I get to sit down with the likes of yourself and Scott Thompson and really, like, you know, just dig that much further into the shell.
Yeah.
I love learning from people. I love talking with people. So it's a great opportunity for myself. You know, hopefully those that watch these get to learn a bit more about Jon Archer, a bit more about San Antonio, a bit more about construction.
If you have questions, reach out, holler at me. Y'all got my number, and thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jon.
Yeah, man.
To everyone out there, have a very Merry Christmas, and we will see you in January.